This is Bedtime Stories, Grownup Edition, Love and War, Part 14.
When we left off, we found out that when properly medicated and treated, Donovan's instincts are spot on.
Angela did her big one. All she needed to know was that her husband needed a meeting after all that had happened and all that had been revealed. And she went into immediate action. And bright and early the following day, when her twins woke her up, she got up,
woke up Michael and Angel for school, and prepared a huge breakfast. When she went to the master bedroom to see if Melissa was in the mood to come down for breakfast, she found her oldest baby girl snuggled up with her teddy and her daddy. Q had gotten out of the bed in the guest room, hopped in the shower, threw on some loungewear, and was laying in their bed on top of the covers with his arms around Melissa. And they were both knocked out.
Angela decided that she served them both breakfast in bed.
When she returned with the tray of food, Q was sitting up on his cell phone, and she heard him say, "I can do that, but just so you know, my wife has put her foot down and I'm going to need at least 30 days. Then after a brief pause, he said, "I'm going to give my family and myself all the time that we need, but you got to know, I'm on this." And after another pause, he said, "All right, see you soon."
When Angela entered the room, she said, "So you're going to be on leave, but you're still going to be working, huh?" And Q said, "I'm going to find the people behind Melissa's attempted abduction, but not in my official capacity as federal agent St. James." And Angela just nodded her head and said, "We'll make sure that you are taking care of you, and make sure that you are letting me know if there is anything that I can do to support you." Q said, "We need to find out what Melissa wants to do. Does she want to go back to the light, or does she want to stay home?" And Angela said,
"Well, since she's ear hustling right now, she could tell us." Melissa chuckled and said, "Can I stay home until Uncle Wise is surprised and then go back to school?" Q said, "Whatever you need."
Angela said, "You know these kids are always listening."
Meanwhile, at the estate, the Queen Mother has called a meeting. In several hours before Donovan, Jeffrey, Maribel, Selima, Stephanie, and True were scheduled to arrive for said meeting, she'd rounded up Idra, Nigel, and Manny for a pre-meeting. In the wee hours of that morning, she'd called Nigel and Manny, and the only one she'd gotten on the phone was Manny. And he'd verified that everything Jeffrey told her concerning him was true. He did meet him about a year before Andy's death. And shortly before Jeff found out that he was a St. James, Manny stopped by Nigel's estate while he was in Miami on business, and they had a private conversation. At least they thought it was private. A few hours after that conversation, Nigel called the Queen Mother back, but she didn't answer because her and Idra were busy. So when Nigel arrived for the meeting before the meeting, Queen Mother said, "At a time like this, what will possess you to send me the voicemail? You know if I'm calling you that time of night, it's important." Nigel said, "If Catherine don't question me about what I do on my personal time, neither should you." The Queen Mother said, "Whatever. Don't you think you're a little old for philandering?" And Nigel said, "As long as I can get it up, I'm going to get it on." And the Queen Mother said, "Not to speak ill of the dead, but you are your father's son. If you remember, during the Notorious Five, when the Queen Mother and Pops Andy were going through that little situation with India, one of the things that was impacting the way that Pops Andy felt about his quality of life was the fact that he didn't have a life. And when the Queen Mother mentioned how infrequently he visited Trinidad, he intimated that there was some family issues. So at the Queen Mother's guest house, Nigel replied,
"Everybody can't be St. Andy. I run the family business. I take care of my wife."
And the minute we knew for sure that she'd never be the mother of my children, I got snipped to make sure there wasn't going to be no outside children either. I got married because I didn't want illegitimate children. Now, is this little meeting about Jeff? Because the way I see it, he's a godsend. Idris said, "The jury's still out on that, bro." And the Queen Mother said, "Let me see your back." Nigel asked, "What?" Queen Mother said, "Pull up your shirt and let me see your back." Nigel said, "For what? You think I'm wired?" The Queen Mother said, "Boy, of course not. I want to see if you have a birthmark on your left shoulder blade."
Nigel said, "If you want to see my body, just say that, girl." It just said, "Nigga, I'll knock your head between the washer and the dryer. Don't play with my woman." Nigel said, "Be easy, bro. I'm joking. I don't need to show you my back. I don't have any birthmarks." And the Queen Mother asked, "When exactly did you get that vasectomy?"
Nigel said, "It was way after I did the DNA test with Jeff, but I'm telling you, he's not my son. He's Andy's."
The Queen Mother said, "He can't be."
Andy and all 4 of the children that I gave birth to have the same birthmark on their shoulder blade.
Jeff does not. Again, I don't mean to speak ill of the dead, but did your father have I just said, oh, hell no. I'm sure Andy told you all about how Pops got around. He had women, but he never had no outside kids. He'd take a broad out before he let her have a baby. And if he even thought that it was possible that India was carrying his baby,
he would have secretly eliminated her, or at the very least had her get rid of it behind Medea's back. The Queen Mother said that's a damn shame. They took a blood card when Andy died. Nigel said, fine, we'll do another DNA test and use that, if that's what it's going to take to convince Donovan that Jeff's his brother. The Queen Mother said, at this point, I need it too. Nigel said, I can't believe all of this is over a birthmark. The Queen Mother said, no, it's because of the preponderance of evidence.
While the elders were up at crack 30, handling business, the young whippersnappers were slowly dragging themselves out of bed and getting together. In True's apartment, Stephanie said, now, catch me up on all the business so that we can talk about what I really want to talk about, girl. And True said, Nisha Russian is still alive and talking, but she's not saying what we want to hear. And Zoe is focused on the hospital videos. I have several men who are running down the employees who fit the same description as the broad who attacked Maribel. And I'm running down the tattoo lead. I have a hard time believing that anybody will get a permanent tattoo of Rennie's deceased mother's name on their neck. And there are not enough Donnabelles in the world to justify anybody having a legitimate reason to have that name tattooed in the same place where Rennie has it. So my focus is finding out who would have a vested interest in pretending to be Rennie so that they can hurt Maribel. Based on her injuries, they plan to kill that woman. Now, as an aside, what I want to know is, what the hell kind of training did Manny give Maribel that she was able to put up that kind of fight covered in water and soap? I mean, I get that she's the Kingpin's daughter, and her attacker most likely was not a professional, but the chick definitely had the advantage. What the hell kind of workouts do the OBGYN be doing? I know that wasn't proper English, but goddamn. Stephanie laughed and said, yo, from what I hear, Maribel used to get it in. Then True said, well, before you get to Corey and that damn Kim, we gotta do something about Selena. Drew called me and told me that she told him that he has an opportunity to redeem himself with Wise.
Drew was the soldier
that Selena put on Wise when she first met him, and she wanted to see what he was up to, what he was into, and when he went to the doctor to get that STD panel completed. Wise made him within hours of his surveillance and then used him to connect him to Selena after he got that STD panel done. Years have passed and Drew is a whole lot better at his surveillance. So True said, I told everybody that Wise is working on something top secret and important for Samuel, and that if Selena contacted them about surveilling on him, to let me know. Stephanie asked, so what you tell Drew to do? True said, I told him to call Wise. Hell, Wise can feed him information, and that can just play into how we get her behind to New York. Stephanie said, good thinking. Then Selena was banging on the door. When True let her in, Selena came in raring and ready to go. She said, we gotta go to New York. True just looked at Stephanie. Stephanie said, for what? We are in the middle of a whole lot of things. Selena said, I don't give a damn about none of that. The joy of being in charge is that we can get other people to handle whatever the hell we got going on here. Stephanie said, so what's in New York? Selena said, that nigga of mine, he's up to something. And it's not working on something for my damn daddy. Maybe he is working on something for my daddy, because my daddy don't be lying. But other than that, he up to something. Stephanie said, okay, well, first, we need to find out what the Queen Mother wants to meet about. Selena said she want to meet about Donovan. He probably done flipped out and whooped Jeff last night. Stephanie said, well, if that happened, I think we would already know about it. Let's just handle this meeting first, and then we can discuss whatever your concerns are about Wives. Selena said, I like how you keep brushing off my concerns, but you stay talking about that mess with Corey and Kim. And that ain't even your man no more. Stephanie said, don't do that. That's my man until I say that's not my man no more. And that bro was on the phone with my man at 3 o'clock in the damn morning talking about money and pipe. They both should be ashamed of themselves. True and Selima just fell out laughing. Stephanie said, I'm not playing. They both pastors. When we were together, he used to ask me to drink at home, but she drinking at the hotel bar. Selima said, and how exactly do you know all of this? Stephanie said, how do you know that Wise is up to something? Selima said, oh, because I got eyes on him. I've been in this business too long, and I'm too far in to rely on somebody else's account. I'm always going to trust my instincts, and my instincts tell me that something is going on. And the more y'all try to convince me that I'm wrong, the more I know that I'm right. True said, listen to me. I understand, and I'm not telling you not to think that something's going on. Because if it was me, you wouldn't be able to convince me either. I'm simply saying there's a way to do everything, Selima. And we've been here way too many times. You get a bug in your behind, and you just go off. And you can't keep doing that. And from where I'm sitting, it looks like you just always looking for an excuse to not go to the next level with Wise. You won't even admit that you love that man. And the fact that he's still sticking around is a miracle, in my opinion. Stephanie said, you ain't told that man you love him? Selima said, he know how I feel. Stephanie said, oh, you the nigga in the relationship. Got it. He gonna have to break you down. True said, I'm telling you, best friend, she be doing the most. But he be getting her together, though. And then she be purring like a kitty cat instead of roaring like a lion. I'm surprised that he ain't pulled up on her crazy behind already and put in her place. Selima said, and that's exactly my point. When since he stopped pulling up on me and putting me in my place? Stephanie said, why I get the feeling we ain't talking about talking no more? Selima said, girl, cause we not. Stephanie said, cause he working on something important for your pops. You tripping.
Meanwhile, in Denton, Q has dropped his children and LJ's off at school, and he's on his way back to the compound. And Melissa has gone with Angela to drop the twins off at the main house. The grandmother crew has all of the children who are not school age back on their regularly scheduled routine. And the plan is for Angela and Q to spend the day with Melissa. Fred and a team of investigators are on their way, and they plan to interview and debrief Melissa and Q at home, where Melissa will be more comfortable. When Angela's done talking to the grandmother crew and tells Melissa that it's time to head back home, Melissa says, you're gonna have to go without me, Mommy, because I got a date. Angela said, with whom? With Uncle D. He should be on his way. Angela asked, and when did you arrange this date? Melissa said, I called him before we walked over here. He was dropping Bella and Chance off, and I asked if he would take the day off from work and spend it with me. Angela said, oh, okay. And is there a reason why you decided to drop me and your father like bad habits? Melissa said, Mom, you and Daddy have each other. Uncle Donovan doesn't have anybody, and right now he needs a friend. Angela said, Donovan has a whole family. Melissa cut Angela off and said, Mommy, everybody's been treating Uncle D like a leper. Angela said, no, we haven't. Melissa said, other than Uncle CT, nobody even has time for Uncle D. And Uncle D needs a friend today. Uncle CT's gonna be a little busy. Angela said, let me guess, you called him too? Melissa said, no, I didn't call him. And then Angela asked, did you have a dream? Melissa said, no, Aunt Stephanie's here, and she can't take baby Kari back to Puerto Rico. So I'm sure she's going to be busy getting on his nerves. Angela just fell out laughing. Then she asked, so am I taking you to Donovan's, or is he coming to get you? At the estate, everyone has gathered for the meeting that the Queen Mother called. Everyone but Donovan. While they await his arrival, the Queen Mother thinks it's a good idea to go ahead and get some things out on the table. So she had everybody but Nigel and Jeff wait in the foyer. And inside the sitting room, she let Jeff know that they'd be doing another DNA test immediately. And she and Nigel were both relieved when he didn't protest. Then she told him, we have some really important questions for you. Questions that we absolutely need answers to. I don't know what's holding Donovan up, but I expect him to be here within the hour. That means we're going to have to make this fast. Now, I'm not trying to make you uncomfortable, but the fact of the matter is, you haven't been 100% honest. And I can understand why, but there's a lot on the line right now. So we won't be having the remaining conversations in private. Nigel could tell that Jeff had his poker face on, and that made him start questioning Jeff. When the Queen Mother let everybody else in the room, the interrogation began.